So I'm delighted to say that Lynne of Bierhope. How do you say it, Lynne?
Europe.
Bierhope, yeah, because I was calling it Bierhope earlier. So Bierhope is with us, and I don't know how I didn't know, but I didn't know that Lynne's actually a member of SWI.
Um,
So even better, even better. She's got alpacas and she's one of us. That's great. So I'm just going to pass over to Lynne. In fact, we're going to we're going to have a little bit of Q&A. We can take questions sort of as we go, but what I'll do is I'm going to mute everyone first because that means we don't hear EastEnders or whatever in the background while Lynn's trying to talk. All right, but if you need me, you can get us through chat, which is at the on the speech bubble symbol. If you press that, you can chat directly with everyone. And if you need to talk to me, you can unmute yourself and say Pauline, and I'll find you. All right. So I'm going to mute everyone and then go over to Lynne. So okay, and then find Lynne. Okay, Lynne. I'm going to hand over to you now, Lynne. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for that. Can everybody hear me okay? Excellent, excellent. It's a little bit weird doing a Zoom presentation, but thank you all very much for inviting me to come along this evening and talk to you about all things alpaca. So before we go on to a few slides, I promise I won't bore you too much with too many slides. Just a little bit of background about us and Bierhope. I was a social worker, and 5 years ago I had a brainwave to move to the countryside, uproot my family and my husband, and move to somewhere with a field and a workshop. And our search for that led us to Bierhope. And we have a couple of fields and a little bit more than a workshop, and we're very, very lucky. So maybe if Pauline could pull up the first slide.
I can.
We are, for those of you who don't know who so okay. There we go. So this is us, Bierhope Alpacas. We're located in the heart of the Cheviot Hills at Hunham near Moorbattle. So hello to anybody from Moorbattle Rural and to anybody from Towford as well. Towford's the rural I'm a member of. So moving back to our journey of alpacas. So we moved into Bierhope 5 years ago, and we wanted to just live in the countryside. I had a horse, and I just wanted to enjoy the countryside life a little bit more. And we moved in, and about 5 months after we moved in, I thought, oh, I don't think I want to be a social worker anymore. I'm missing countryside. I'm going to work every day and missing where I'm living. So we took a decision to go down to the glamping show, which was down in the south of England, to have a look at maybe some glamping pods or some yurts or something like that. And whilst there, by chance, I met alpacas. And I have to tell you, I was captivated. So having gone to buy tents, I came home with 5 alpacas, although there was a little bit in the middle of that story, and it wasn't quite straight away. We just found them really quirky, really inquisitive, really naughty. They were just great. And I spent the entire glamping show at the alpacas. Decided there and then that weekend we would quite like them, and we were going to give a bit of an alpaca trekking business a go. So 5 months went by. I attended alpaca courses. There is such a thing as alpaca courses. And I attended a course. I went all the way down to Lancaster, Lancaster, down past Preston anyway, back to the guy who was at the glamping show. I went down to his farm. And then I picked 5 alpacas, and they were supposed to arrive 4 years ago on Valentine's Day, actually. And come delivery day, I didn't get any alpacas and they didn't arrive. So we had a bit of a false start. I was quite disappointed, and had to sort of start our search from the beginning again. And lo and behold, about 45 minutes south on the A68 was an alpaca farm at that time. I'd driven past it hundreds of times and never noticed it. We met the lovely Debbie and Paul from Barnacre Alpacas, and this time round we got our 5 alpacas. So if we go back to slide 1, please, Paul. That's me. That's my alpaca hat as well, but I can tell you that a little bit later. I have that on today, and I've managed to completely cover it in hay, but never mind. So the picture on of there's 4 alpacas. 3 of those 4 were our first 5 boys. So this great journey began in April 2017 when our first alpacas arrived. So if you go on to slide 2, please. Well, you can skip that one actually and go straight to 3. We've seen me. We know I've been a social worker. That's us. That's where we are. That photograph was taken 2 weeks ago. Absolutely stunning. You can see in the distance, if you start with the hill closest to the road, at the end of the road, that's Hunham Law. You can see the Shill in the distance, and you can see Cheevia over on the right, as well as the one of the Iron Age forts, Thowlaston, that towers over us. So that's where we are. Absolutely stunning. The Kale Valley. It's beautiful. So going back to our alpaca journey, you can head on to slide number 3. Thank you. 4 even. There we go. So we had this great plan of alpacas and what on earth were we going to do with them. So we got 5 boys to begin with: Tenzin, Sam, Monty, Yehudi and Graffiti. And very quickly we started to welcome members of the public to do some trekking. But I have to say a huge thank you to the valley, the Kale Valley. We had an open day in June of 2017 and it was just fantastic. And at the very last moment we were let down by the catering van that was going to come along, and true to form, the lady of the valley baked the most spectacular cakes, and we had a wonderful open day with over 100 people joining us to welcome us on our new venture. So that was how it all began. Back in June 2017, 5 alpacas. And you can see from this picture a whole different variety of people. And this is one of the beauties about alpacas. They just appeal to everybody, no matter how young or grown up we all are. Everybody loves them. They're great, great fun. So we do visits, we do walks, we do meet and greets, we do all sorts. It's great, great fun. But I think we probably need to mention a little bit about alpacas. Does anybody know where alpacas come from?
South America.
Well, whereabouts?
Chile.
Peru.
Peru. Yes, I've met them in Peru.
Alpacas come from Peru.
Yeah.
They are, oh gosh, over 500 years ago. They were really classed as animals of the gods. They're luxurious fibre, they're luxurious fleece, and they were also bred for meat. And so both were of such good quality that the Peruvian royal family awarded them royal status. And then in 1532, Spain invaded South America, and just as an act of badness and nothing else, they they killed about 90% of the alpaca population. So in a bid to survive, alpacas crossbred with llamas. And so there's said to be a deterioration in the fleece, but with clever breeding and breeding from good lines, it's slowly but surely going back to where it came from originally. And that's what alpacas are really known for still to this day, their fleece and their fibre.
Mm-hmm.
So there are 4 animals in the alpaca family, in the camelid family, and camels aren't one of those 4. So we've got llama, guanaco, alpaca, and vicuna, in that order. So size-wise, llama first, alpacas third in that height order. Vicunas are said to be the wild alpacas, and even in Peru, alpacas are domesticated. Mm-hmm. I don't quite think it's like they are in this country. I don't think people pop out with tubs of carrots like we do, but nonetheless, they are domesticated animals. And I think the really quirky and captivating thing for all of us with alpacas is that you can get up close to them. You can see in the photographs, all ages, all people, they're doing all sorts. We take them for a walk, you can feed them, and they're just great, great fun. The photograph in the middle at the bottom, there's a little boy holding what looks like a lightning strike. That was for a launch event held at the Mining Museum at Gorebridge just in January of last year, before all of the dreaded times took place. We've got families with the children, taking them for a walk, and then on the top we seem to have an alpaca having a roll for some unknown reason. Like that when we're out trekking. And you can see in the middle picture, they're coming to look at what I've put on the fence post as well. Mm-hmm. So we can go on to the next slide, Paulie. So there's a little bit more about what we do and how we do things here at Bierhope. So when you come along to meet them, we would give you some carrots to feed them, and they really do come up to you. You can see the family at the bottom on the picnic table, and they will come that close to you if you were in the paddock with you. We've had an incredible journey to date. We started off with 5 alpacas, not knowing how our new business would go. We were located so rurally, we didn't know if anybody would want to come and walk alpacas or visit alpacas with us. And it's been an amazing journey to date. We've grown our herd size. We're now at 23 alpacas, so from 5 to 23. We run different gift vouchers, cards, felting, knitting. You can see some of our alpaca signs there, and it's just been a great journey. The alpaca sign and our new logo, you can see at the bottom. We had the pleasure of working with Hannah Longmuir, who's a local artist that used to live in Moorbattle until not long ago, and I think she lives in Melrose now, so very well known in the Scottish borders. Hannah does some amazing wildlife drawings, and we got her up to meet our alpacas, and she designed our logo, the sign that's backwards on this PowerPoint presentation. It is the right way around, really. That sign there, Hannah designed for us as well. And that was one of her drawings. She did a fantastic job, and it really just captures the heart of Bierhope, the barn, the stone walls, and just, I think, our environment around us. So we were really lucky to work with Hannah. We do some crafting sessions. We have the needle craft. We do needle felting, and we do wet felting with the children using our alpaca fibre. So we also sell our own yarn and produce our own yarn, which we'll come back to. We do all sorts of special events throughout the year. So the lady sitting, can I tell you, that is a glass of juice and not a glass of wine that she has in her hand. That was one of our sunset strolls where we go up to the hill fort
Great.
early evening, and just taking the views all around us. So that's some of the things that we do here at Bierhope. We have a great Christmas event called the Alpaca, All Aboard the Alpaca Express. But sadly, we took the decision this year to stop in light of all of the updated COVID situation. We have been lucky enough to open this year, or I should say last year. And I'm sure we'll be raring to go when we can again this year. So alpacas are great fun. They capture everybody's hearts and imaginations. Yeah, if you go on to the next slide.
Sorry.
Yeah. So
great.
I know this slide really makes me smile. So we went to a wedding. We've been to 2 weddings actually. We've never carried the ring, but we've been in photographs. And the lovely tuxedo that Caesar is wearing there was made by the lovely Jane Horton. Go in our village. So Jane helps us. She makes lots of things for us. Who knew that you can have accessories?
Yeah.
So there you go. That's him in his dicky bow tie.
Lovely.
We go to weddings, we have parties here, we go to events, we've been to castles, we've been to just some great events. We've had rural ladies here with us, and we've been to do other rural events too. The snowpacker was this year. That just made me smile when things are really rubbish all around and we need something to smile at. One of our lovely visitors, Alison, the lovely Alison, who makes these signs for us. Alison from Billy Doo, her and her family came last summer, and she sent a photo of the snowpacker. Her daughter went out to make a snowpacker.
Yeah.
So there we go. And you can see on there too, again, just the range of people who enjoy alpacas. The 2 alpacas at the bottom there, that was a couple of years ago, and that's Hope and Kale. So Kale is the alpaca that's kissing Hope, and Hope is the bigger of the 2 alpacas. So Kale gets his name obviously from where we live, the Kale Valley, and Hope from the end of our farm. Although we don't pronounce it Bierhope, it is there in writing. So that's where their names came from. They were the very first cria baby alpacas that were born at Bierhope. Hope technically wasn't born with us. It was 2018, the year of the beast from the east, and she was due in very early April. And the beast from the east was quite late in March, so we didn't want to move her mum in that weather when she was heavily pregnant. So she was born on the alpaca farm and came up to us afterwards. And then Kale was the very first alpaca born here with us. So we had to call him something connected to him. So a baby alpaca is called a cria, C-R-I-A. Alpacas are pregnant for about 340 days. But interestingly, Hope's mum went 364 days with Hope. And I think the longest recorded pregnancy is 407 days. So it can vary a bit. Alpacas are amazing. They're amazing mums. They give birth very easily and generally without needing any help from us at all. But they will usually only give birth in the daytime from about 8:30 till about 2:30. So no night lambing when you have an alpaca. You don't have to have anybody on the sheds at night. It's pretty. And they have an ability to stop labour and start it again the next day. And they know that predators, the risky sit time for a cria would be in the first few hours after birth. And thinking about the natural environment in Peru, particularly in the Andes, it gets very cold at night. So that's why they can stop labour and start it again the next day. She's quite cute. The photograph of the nighttime scene is just at the top of Bierhope, towards Deer Street. And that photograph came about when we met the lovely visitor who was a photographer as a hobby, particularly of the stars at night, and he managed to capture that wonderful shot of the Milky Way over Bierhope. So we've met some amazing people on our journey to date. It's always a pleasure to meet people and get lovely photos. We'll go to the next slide, please. This is a little video. So in case you wondered what it's like on an alpaca trek at Bierhope and what we do, there's a little, it's a very, very short video, and it just shows you different things about what we do here at Bierhope. I'll let Pauline play that now.
Teddy bear. Great.
The last slide there was of my husband and myself, just as we got the alpacas, and we thought it would be a good idea to get a photograph of them all, and it's kind of like trying to line kids up for a photo. And they were going all over and nobody was looking at the camera, so it was quite funny taking that shot. But that video was a very quick snapshot of what we do at Bierhope with the alpacas. So a little bit more about, I guess we can talk a little bit more about the day-to-day care of alpacas and the sort of cycle of an alpaca, if you like. We share them, so looking at us there, that is Dino, and he's very recently been sheared in that photograph. As you can see, you still see the marks on him from the clippers. So they're sheared once a year, and we send their fibre down to the border mill in Duns, and from there they send back some lovely yarn. And I didn't plan this, but that yarn, I don't know if you can see it, can't see it very well.
Can everyone see Lynne full screen now? Yeah.
That yarn is Dino. Dino and Dante combined, that is his yarn, and that's one of the things we do here at Bierhope, is that we keep all of the yarn that we make is kept in individual animal, so we can tell you which animal you're going to knit with, which is quite good, I think. It's always quite quirky. So if you take Caesar for a walk, you can buy a little bit of Caesar's yarn if you wanted to. We send the yarn down to the border mill. They spin it. We send the fleece, and they spin it and send it back to us as yarn. And we're quite proud of the yarn journey. And if I take a step back and explain why, my grandmother, my gran, as I called her, came from Hawick, and she was born in 1911, and she worked in the woolen mills in the Braemar factory until she married my granda and moved to Northumberland. And she was a finisher in the Braemar factory. So when I was growing up, she had the patience of a saint, bless her, and she used to teach me how to knit. So when we got alpacas and we learned about the luxurious wool and about how beautiful, how soft it was, considered like cashmere, I thought, crikey, I live 14 miles from Hawick, where my gran grew up. I wonder if we can make some wool, some yarn in her memory. So the very first time we ever tried, we sent off 2 fleeces, and it just came back and it was beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. We had a grey alpaca called Sam. He's been in some of the photos, and Tenzin, one of the cream alpacas. And it was just beautiful. And I knew that she would be delighted with it had she still been here to see it. So we grew year on year on the yarn that we make. A couple of years ago, we took from our friends Laura and Will down at Hunham Grange, we took some of their North Country Cheviot sheep, and we blended some of that wool with our alpaca yarn. I'm not really very good at this, sorry. These are my socks, and I've never I promised they're clean. And they're great. These make great walking socks because the structure of the North Country Cheviot just gives it that strength that's needed. Alpaca is very, very soft and beautiful, makes great bed socks, but don't ever knit walking socks with alpacas, or you'll be stitching wools quite quickly. Always use something that's blended in there to give it the strength and the structure. However, my alpaca hat, as you saw earlier, has kept me warm for the last couple of years. So yeah, we went 2 years ago with Laura and we took some of their sheep's wool and blended it. This year we've taken some wool from my direct neighbours, Nikki and Robert Scott at Over Witten, and we've increased our yield, and we have all sorts. She says I'm supposed to be here. So this is alpaca. Oh, it's upside down. This is alpaca blended with some Aberfield cross, and it's absolutely beautiful. And that's it's a funny light in this. Sorry, that's in a dusky pink. Mm-hmm. And then we also have the pure alpaca wool. So from a little experiment in memory of my gran, we now produce quite a bit of yarn. And I'm delighted with it, mostly because we've gone back to something that the Scottish Borders is synonymous with, the woolen mills, and we are keeping it really, really local. While we can't tell you which sheep it is, because they don't all have names like the alpacas, we can tell you from which farm and probably from which field those sheep were raised in. And I think the local provenance is fantastic. We're delighted with it, and it, in some way, like I say, I think my gran would be smiling down if she could see it now. So that's the yarn. A little fact about wool and yarn, and ladies, tell me if I've got this right. Somebody told me this, so I don't know. But I believe the difference between wool and yarn is the lanolin. So I believe officially, the only thing that we can call wool comes from a sheep because it has lanolin in it. And otherwise it's yarn, and alpacas do not contain any lanolin. So they're very good for people who have allergies to sheep's wool because there's no lanolin in the alpaca. So I believe that's why alpaca wool, if you like, is called yarn and sheep's wool is wool. But it's great. It's just a little quirky fact. We have felting kits, the bits of alpaca that we don't send off to use in wool. We make felting kits with, so we have a selection of them. My needle felting skills are improving, and Anne Redpath better not be laughing when I say that. I am getting better at my needle felting, and you'll be pleased to know that we get people in who actually know what they're doing to run the classes, and I just drift about in the background. But I have now made some fantastic Christmas baubles, and it's quite therapeutic, sort of sitting stabbing something repeatedly to just make it into a shape. It's great fun. I really enjoy that. And then we run wet felting classes with the children, and they make pictures, and they make a panel of felt and make some pictures. So it's just exploring different ways with these products all the time. It's great fun. But the core of what we do is welcoming people to Bierhope and getting out into the Cheviot Hills and seeing the most beautiful countryside that we are blessed to live in the quirky company of an alpaca. They are just great. So really, that's probably us at Bierhope. Our alpacas today, they're great fun. I I think if somebody had told me 5 years ago that I was going to leave my job as a social worker and become an alpaca trekker, I would never have believed it. But here I am, 5 years later, loving what we do. I don't think I'd change it at all, ever. And they're just the best animals to work with. Great fun for many, many people. Does anybody have any questions about alpacas?
I'll just get everyone to unmute. Just all unmute, then we can hear each other. And if you just give me a wave if you want to ask a question, and then I'll come to you, because it's I've got 4 screens to go through. So if you give me a wave and then or give me a shout. Edith, I'm going to come to you. Hi, Edith.
Hiya.
Hello.
Do the alpacas spit?
Edith, that is going to be of one of our blogs. Yes. Yeah, they do. And,
I thought they did.
Yeah, they can do. And the first time it ever really happened to me in public, it's happened loads of times since, was with Sam, the great alpaca. And we went he's just really funny. And I walked up to him and I went, "Hello, Sam." And there was a collection of trekkers waiting to go. And he just point blank range spat at me. So I'd love to say, no, they don't. But yeah. Generally, they don't spit at you, other than Sam did that day. Generally, they're spitting at their friends. So the defense mechanisms, the prey animals. So they're always waiting for, it's the wild puma that would be their sort of predator in Peru. So to defend themselves, they can spit or they can kick their back leg. Our boys, the trekking boys, are great. They'll very rarely, I would doubt they would kick at all. And the way that we walk, that's not going to happen. But they can fight over carrots when we're feeding them. Taking a big hole now. I'm just going to stop there now.
Anyone else with a question? Just wave at me. Oh, hello, June. Jane. Hello, Jane.
Hello. We've been watching with my children here, Amy and
Hello.
Sam.
Hello.
Hi,
We've
Amy.
really enjoyed this because we live in North Wales and we're thinking about getting alpacas.
Oh, great.
So 2 questions that we've got. Amy wanted to know whether you actually do the shearing yourself, and I wanted to know whether you have to do supplementary feeding, whether it's just grazing or what else you have to give them.
Yeah, really great questions, guys. Really great questions. So no, I don't shear them myself. I get a shearer in, and there are lots in this country, and sometimes people use shearers from abroad, from New Zealand and Australia, and they did manage to get in last year in the midst of the COVID first lockdown, because shearing is an animal welfare issue. So it must be said, alpacas need to be sheared every year, once a year, and it generally would happen, depending where you are in the country, after your last halter show. So for us, it's the end of May, but as we won't be showing this year, we might get them clipped slightly earlier. So whilst I physically don't clip them, I'm there on shearing day, and Grace Sesford, who is on this call tonight, makes the best bacon sandwiches on shearing day. We'll wait for them again this year. Thanks, Grace. Your second question about feeding, so alpacas are semi-ruminant, so they have one stomach, unlike cow. Correct me if I'm wrong. They have one stomach, but it's broken down into 3 stomach chambers. And they're very, very efficient grazers because of where they live in the Andes. So they have a split lip. If you have a close look, Amy, at an alpaca, they've got a split lip, and that's to enable them to graze with one half of their mouth. And they can get into very small spaces. Think of big boulders and perhaps a blade or 2 of grass growing between it. That is essential to an alpaca. So that's why they have the split lip. And they will then pass anything they eat through 3 chambers, and each chamber will zap more nutrients and give them, so they're really very efficient grazers. You could probably have about 5 alpacas to half an acre, but you need more than half an acre because you need to rest your land. So supplementary feed, we use Camelibra. There are loads of different products on the market, but Camelibra is probably the best one, and it looks just like Bisto gravy granules. And the general, very rough rule to thumb is 1 gram of food per kilogram of body weight. So if, for argument's sake, said a tablespoon was roughly 25 grams, there you go, 3 tablespoons roughly of Camelibra. You might add fibergestine in the winter and some micronized peas. That's what we add in. Adlib hay. This time of year, the grass contains no nutrients for them whatsoever. So they have hay in all sorts of varieties, in all sorts of places. And then every month we give them some vitamin A, D and E paste. Not sure if Nikki, my neighbour, is on tonight or not. They've had Chloe, their daughter, comes to help me administer the vitamin paste. Duck is all I can say. So anything, if you want to get in touch, guys, outside the chat, and if get alpacas, that's my first advice. I'm all happy to answer. I am no expert, but I am happy to share and any of my knowledge I have with you.
Great. Does anyone else have a question? Just wave at me. Wave. Wilma. Hello, Wilma.
Do you bring them in at night, or can they stay out 24 hours, or do you bring them in?
It's a really funny one, Wilma. The boys, I shouldn't say this because it's probably sexist, but the boys are real wimps, and they come into their barn at 3:30 every day at the moment, and they'll bring themselves in. So we run a system where they can get shelter by way of getting into their barn. That we don't have field shelters, they can just get straight into their barn. So the boys will go in, and then if there's like a drizzle at 11 o'clock in the morning, they'll run in out the rain, whereas the girls will stand out on the field in all weathers. So I have to coax the girls in. But for the last 2 nights, Wilma, I've left the girls. I've just let them, they can get in if they want. They come in for their tea. They get fed in the barns, but they've just gone back out. And I woke up the other morning and it was really cold. It was about -3.5. And our brown female alpaca called Hattie was just like she'd had ice and sugar dusted on her. Alpacas are designed to withstand temperatures of plus 30 degrees during the day to below -20 at night. So it's a huge variance because of where they live in the Andes. So they need shelter. They need to be able, because if it's windy and wet, the wind could part their fleece and the water could penetrate and get into their skin. But providing they've got shelter, and that could be from a hedge, a fence, and get out of that driving rain, they'll be fine.
Yeah. Thank you. Wilma, again?
The sheep have to be dipped. Do you do anything like that with alpacas once they get clipped?
Not necessarily. Sometimes we use, if the flies are bad in the summer, we can use a Crovect on them, which you run straight down the spine, and then hip to hip and shoulder to shoulder, and that just helps keep anything to stop the flies really bothering them. But they don't really suffer from fly strike. Sometimes it's becoming slightly more common, but they don't really generally tend to ail with fly strike. You have to keep an eye on any open wounds or anything like that. We give them an annual Lamivac. We just use Lamivac for them, or you can use Heptavac, a clostridial injection. And then we get their poo analysed for worms. send that off. We don't routinely worm them because of the resistance. And there was a huge, what a topic to talk about. How did I get myself?
Well asked.
We had a vet student come and do a study, because a lot of products that we use, veterinary products, are used in sheep, and then, you know, sort of applied to alpacas too. And it's thought the alpaca tolerance to worms is a lot lower than sheep. So this young vet student did a great study, and it was really interesting, fantastic to be part of that for a year. So we now send off samples, I'll use that word now, and get them analysed rather than routinely inject for anything like that.
And is that through the SRUC then?
Actually, and somebody was going to ask me that.
Sorry.
At the moment we use Philip Spruce through, I don't think it's the Moden Institute, connected to the Moden Institute. So Philip and his team do it for us. Right. We can also check, for fluke too. But again, alpacas, depends how wet your land is and what's on your land, but they don't eel to it routinely.
Great.
Oh, and toenails, pedicures. I forgot to mention that.
Oh yeah.
We have to clip the toenails.
Yeah. So they've got a cloven foot, yeah? So a cloven hoof. No,
they don't. They have. It's almost like a dog's pad. They have toes. Basically, they have two toes, just like a dog's pad, with a nail over the top of it. It's. I think it's fair to say it's bizarre.
Yeah.
That will give them the ability to climb and to manage their terrain back in the Andes. So a great documentary actually showed llamas. Llamas are your pack animals. That's the difference between alpacas and llamas. Alpacas were bred for fleece and for meat, and llamas were bred to carry the loads. And I saw a great documentary of llamas packed up carrying, and they were leaping from shelf to shelf, climbing up in the Andes. It was amazing to watch. And I think that must be why their feet are as they are, because a hoof would slip. It would not give you that grip.
I've got a picture here. I'm just going to share of a. I think it's llamas actually, but this is in their natural terrain. So that's on the Altiplano. Yeah. Is that alpacas?
Yeah, that's alpacas crawling on the Altiplano. Yeah. And that's really interesting. We saw a very, very brief picture in my video of the alpacas going through our burn. Alpacas love water.
Yeah.
And they'll lie in the burn, they'll jump in a trough if they can. And you can see, that's a great shot, Pauline, you can see the minimal grazing there, all the alpacas. And you can see how efficient they really are on that.
I've been on a train journey across the Altiplano, and just going on the train, you just see herds of them. Just every so often, there's a huge herd like that, and then you go on. This picture is lovely too. Look at this.
That melts my heart. That's a cria. That's a young alpaca.
Yeah.
Definitely. But and you can see from the fleece too that a cria's fleece, if they don't wreck it on all of the debris in fields, cria fleece is out of this world. It's
and is it like a little bit like a shearling sheep? The first fleece is really soft, and then after that it gets tougher. Not tougher. But
you're right, and quite quickly they'll deteriorate. So you can get an alpaca that's at 15 microns, which is super fine, really beautiful and soft, and then it deteriorates year on year on year until you would stop using it in yarn, and then you would use it for other things. But there's the felting is becoming really, really popular. And we use a lot of we've got a couple of much older alpacas, and we use their fleece for felting all the time.
Yeah.
A very quick fact I forgot about.
Yeah.
The first people to introduce alpacas to Great Britain. Anybody hazard a guess?
Was it? It wasn't Lord Bath, was it?
Nearly. No. It was Queen Victoria.
Oh.
They brought in they were thought to be the first people to bring in alpacas to what is now London. They kept them at what is now London Zoo. And then there was a bit of a gap and they became sort of slightly more common about 30 years ago in the UK.
And how you said you're 23, so were they how many were born at Bierhope then?
How many have I had now? Oh, on the spot. I have had 3 cria born at Bierhope, and 1 cria we owned but was born elsewhere.
Yeah.
We have hopefully got some cria coming this year, a couple, fingers crossed. So hopefully we're going to have a few more. You always have to keep the boys and girls separate. Always. There is no season. I think I'm all right to say that. There is no season for an alpaca. You have to keep them massively, one there and one there. Never, no, 2 separate fields and a channel down the middle. And that works, that's fine.
Yeah.
When you want to get mated?
Hang on a second. Hang on. There we go.
When you're breeding them, how do you know they're going to come in season or whatever, or do you just decide you want a couple to get paired up and leave them for a month or so?
No, it's
5 minutes.
It really is. Just take a cup of tea. So there's no season for an alpaca. It's all very, very different. And you could put them together at any time. And I think, Pauline, on your picture of the Antiplano, I think they'll run as a mixed herd and nature will take its course. They will belong to somebody, but to us, look at that photo, you wouldn't think it. So an alpaca has no season. When it mates, that produces everything that's required for the pregnancy to go ahead. What we tend to do is use the old sheepfolds here. We'll put pairs of alpacas in, and I suppose we supervise in case anything was to get out of hand, but kind of just leave them for not even an hour and then go back and hopefully that's that. There's you could get them scanned by the vet to see if they're pregnant, and there's a sort of tried and tested method called the spit off. And you would put them back together again. It's awful grim. This is a terrible topic. You put them back together again about 2 weeks later, and if the female spits at the male, she's pregnant, and she will.
Is that enough?
That's great. Any more questions? Anybody else?
Yes.
Fiona, and then I'll go to Fiona Black, and then I'll come to you, Christine. Okay.
Lynne, I remember reading something. Is it true about the alpacas? They protect maybe sheep from and cattle. Is it from dogs and foxes? Is that correct?
Almost, Fiona. Yeah, almost. I can't believe I didn't put this in my talk. I'm really sorry.
No, you had mentioned about the puma, and that was how I was wondering when you mentioned it.
So alpacas are known to chase off Mr. Fox. They're terrified of dogs, and I'll come back to that bit of it, but they'll chase off Mr. Fox. So we got our first 5, and we are surrounded by a private forestry. And the forestry manager and his pal had been in one evening looking for Mr. Fox, and had been above our field where the alpacas are. And through the night vision, they saw 2 foxes go into the field, and our alpacas chased them straight out. They weren't having it. So the chickens are locked up at the moment. Hens are locked up. There's a restriction on hens at the moment, but if they weren't locked up, we have them next to the female alpacas, and boy, I wouldn't like to be a fox in there. However, in the same token, alpacas are terrified of dogs, and they will start to alarm call and shout, and it doesn't matter how well behaved anybody's dogs are, they're terrified of them. So
sorry. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks,
Fiona. Thank you. I'm going to go to Christine now. Wait a minute. I think.
Good evening, Lynne. Can I ask, do they molt at all?
No, they don't. No, the llama doesn't molt either. As such, the llama alpacas.
Just if it was later than getting clipped, it would be rubbing itself to get it off.
Yeah, you would see if they're getting clipped, they can sweat. You can feel them sweat. They tend not to rub it off and molt. Llamas can sometimes go 2 years without getting. They can get clipped every other year. Sometimes, not always, but sometimes. And their fleece fibre structure is more like metal. But the alpacas, it's a really big welfare issue to getting the fleece off. Yeah. And remember the year of the beast from the east in 2018, when it was very, very cold. Well, the polar opposite happened that summer, and there was a big plea from the British Alpaca Society, who we're members of. And they made a big plea to alpaca keepers to get that fleece off in that hot summer, even if it meant popping down the road and asking your farmer neighbour to come up with sheep shears and get it off. So yeah, it's a huge welfare issue, but they don't molt.
And can I also ask, do you have to have for the government ear tags for them?
No, you don't have to have them. They're not classed as livestock yet. They're classed as pets. And there's another interesting study happening that lots of the alpacas have got very hairy ears. Alpacas' hearing is one of their defences. It's one of their sight, sound, and smell are their main senses. And it's actually thought that the plastic ear tag might interfere with their ability to locate and hear sound. So there's a study going on at the moment to see whether or not people should continue to use them. We don't use them. We're small enough to know each an individual alpaca. I can look from my house, and I can look out onto the field and tell you who's who. But for the big breeders with 400 or 500 alpacas, those ear tags are pretty vital, because a white alpaca and a white alpaca are quite similar.
What kind of age span do they live to?
They live to between 20 and 25 years old. So probably not unlike that. And another fact I can't believe I didn't tell you, alpacas come in 23 different colours. So they added, there was a 23rd shade was added. 2018 was a big year for alpacas. It was added in 2018 as well.
Great.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Thank you, Chris. Anne Howard, are you waving at me? Yeah, hang on.
Yep.
Hello, Anne.
Hi. How many, was it Kira, how many babies do they have young? Do they just have one?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Anne. They only have one, and the chance of survival of twins is very, very low. And if they did survive and have, if with sort of modern veterinary medicine here in the Western world, there's a little bit more of a chance and a hope that if twins were born, they would survive, although it's very low percentage. I would definitely then be on nighttime feeding duties as well. Sometimes if the cria are poorly, we can spin plasma, and plasma keeps in your freezer for about 3 years, and that can be a lifeline for a baby alpaca, for a cria. If they're poorly and they need quick intervention, plasma's the way ahead, and that will go in and hopefully do the job for them. They don't ail much, and because they're prey animals, they will mask any signs of illness until often it's too late. Yeah, you've got to really watch them, really watch them and spot signs early.
Do they have the same thing like with colostrum? Do they have colostrum like sheep?
Yeah.
Really good for the brown fat. Yeah.
Colostrum's first, and that's vital for the get that in. It supplies them with all their antibodies, just like the sheep. Yeah. But if you did have to feed them, if you did have to supplement the bottle feed them, I'd be going to Sainsbury's very often buying goat's milk. That's what we would give them.
That's good. Thank you. Thank you, Anne. Any more questions? Let me see. Anne M. Anne M. Hello, Anne M. You're on mute. You're on mute. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. That's it. Thank you, Anne. That's it. We can hear you. Oh no, we can't.
No, we can't.
No, you went off and then you went back on. Sorry. I'll ask you to unmute. That sometimes is helpful because then you press the button.
That's it. That's it.
Okay,
that's it.
Yeah. Hi, Anne. I can hear you now. Hi.
Thank you. Hi. I wondered about your yarn and what ply would you reckon it would be to knit?
To knit. So we've got this year we've got a few different plies. Fancy that. So alpaca yarn drapes beautifully, and I have a shawlette really, and it's been knit in 4-ply. So I wanted a lace weight, and my friend's going to knit me a shawl. So we ended up spinning 2-ply. Lace weight was probably a bit fine. So we've gone 2-ply. So we have this year we have available 2-ply, 4-ply, double knit, lightweight Aran, and then Elsa, one of our white alpacas, we've got a double knit, but also a super soft double knit, which is new to me, but it is lovely.
Sounds gorgeous.
It is different plies. Yeah.
I'm inclined to have an Aran. I haven't done one for years, but that sounds really nice.
Yeah, it is. You can't see it, but I showed it before. Dino, there's 2 Arans. There's an oatmeal gingerbread, and it's 100% alpaca, the Aran, and it's not dyed. That is completely natural. It's
beautiful.
Some of it's dyed, some of it's blended with different sheep wool to give you different structures. But the ladies that know me will now be chuckling away because I make yarn. Well, I don't make it, I have it made. But my knitting skills are, well, I'm learning.
So which animal is it that has the oatmeal Aran?
So it is Dino.
Dino, all right, okay.
Dino and Dante. Dino is gingerbread. Dino is oatmeal colour naturally. Dante is more of a gingerbread colour. And then Monty, who is the naughtiest alpaca in the land, is a cream alpaca. And so you might be able to see.
Yeah. Lovely.
It's almost like a tweed. It's almost a tweed effect.
Yeah, yeah.
Monty is the naughtiest alpaca in the land, but he's yarn.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jennifer, I'm going to come to you now.
Thank you. I wondered, Lynne, do you have white 2-ply?
Yes, pure alpaca and blended. Yes, we do, Jennifer.
Because I'm knitting a shawl for a baby that's coming, but the baby is actually going to be twins.
Oh!
Well, I'm saying white. It's ecru. Yes, we do. Have a look on the website.
Yeah, I was actually going to show the website, so
I can put it in the chat. Oh, I can't. I've pressed a button.
There we go.
That's you for me.
So so this is on your website, yeah. So it just shows you the range of different colours.
And there you go. There's Scottish. There's 2-plies up there.
Oh yeah.
Which one is that there?
Yeah, there's that one there, and then there's more. If for some reason I've missed it off the website, which is possible, get in touch with me. And
that one, the pure Scottish alpaca one, no?
No, I think that's in 4-ply.
I think it's the one above it.
Oh, yeah. It is. Pauline knows more than me. That's your 2-ply there. I knew it was in ecru. There you go.
The Scottish alpaca, what? Ecru.
2-ply.
Ecru, 2-ply.
It's not pure white then.
No, sadly not. They're not. It's ecru, not pure white. Sorry.
It's a natural white, yeah?
If you were, they get classified, so that's Caesar. He gets classified as a white alpaca, but the yarn comes out.
So there you can see the animal it came from there, you know.
You know, Dante and Monty, the naughtiest alpaca in the world.
Beautiful.
Yes, lovely.
The Cheviot Hills in springtime, well, they're beautiful all year round, but springtime and September, the colours, so you get beautiful. So they try to inspire the colours that we chose this year, the ones we got dyed, not the natural ones.
Yes, yeah. And does anyone else have any questions? Wave at me if you do. Wave, wave, wave.
I'll have a question, Pauline.
That Maz, yeah. Hi, Maz.
Yep.
Hang on a sec till I find you. Wave at me, Maz.
I'm on the next to you on my one.
I can see you, Maz.
Oh, I can see you. Yeah, I can see you. Wee monkey face. Wee monkey. Hello. A nice monkey, a cheeky monkey.
I was just wondering, Lynne, how many are you hoping to breed to? How long are you going to keep breeding?
Well. I think I was at 5 alpacas, and my husband said that was plenty. And then I went off to Hoyk shopping to Morrison's, and came back with another 3 alpacas. They were on offer in the seasonal aisle with the gnomes, so I'm back.
You sound a bit like me. We went shopping for chicken breasts and came back with a Mercedes.
Quite like that one. So, yeah, I think I haven't told my husband this, but he's not listening. 30 maybe. I think so.
Yeah.
And then when you do that, then do you just keep the males and the females apart?
Yeah, we keep them apart all the time. Keep them apart all the time, and it's very, very well. It was very planned, the mating, and I shouldn't probably admit this either, but we had a great escape in October. You can bet your bottom dollar you know what happened then. You'll find out in September if what happened.
You might have 40.
One alpaca and only one pair of alpacas, sort of. Well, there you go.
I have a question.
Jennifer, yeah.
Are the males, do they fight for a female, or are they all quite amicable?
No, they are really amicable most of the time. But if you were to have the girls and the boys over a single fence together, then the boys would just be ridiculous. Just like at the school systems back in the day. It was just terrible. But no, they generally get on quite well. We've learned from experience to sort of take mating away from the general paddocks, otherwise it just causes chaos. And if you do that, it seems to keep the calm quite nicely.
Do they have halters on all the time? No, or you just have to catch them?
Yeah, catching an alpaca. Joyce Black is on this conversation. Thank you, Joyce, for your comment earlier. So she'll tell you about this. the best way to catch the boy alpacas are much easier to catch than the girls. We only walk the boys because it goes in line with keeping them separate. So the girls, if they're not being mums, then they might be pregnant. So the girls, we don't walk, we just walk the boys. And the idea is you run them into quite a small penned area to catch them. And an alpaca's natural reaction when it is cornered is to submit. So the boys know the score and they know the routine. We run them out of their field. They'll just come to my voice. I mean, when I first started, I did laps and laps of the field. Just running around in alpacas, scattering everywhere. But that's quite like us now. And they come they'll come to my voice and they'll come into the sheepfolds, and we have a small pad, a very, very small fold that we put them in to catch and head collar. And they're only head collared for the duration of the activity they're involved in. And then, and we should say, I know COVID's awful at this time of year for so many reasons, but when we were open, we achieved what's called the Good to Go certificate. We were sort of COVID safe and friendly. We went through extra things, extra cleaning. So we only use 1 lead rope, and then it goes off to be sterilised or disinfected, sorry. That's important to see as well. So we sterilise lead ropes after each use. And head collars, I should say, sorry. Head collar, it's a whole set. Yeah. And it's only used once and then it's sterilised.
Would you have any plans to take them into old folks' homes, or?
We've done that. We did that.
Did you?
Oh, honestly, it was one of the best things I did. So I took Caesar and Graffiti. We took 2 of them up to a care home in Bonchester, and it was absolutely fantastic. They walked into the care home, and they were in one of the sort of communal areas for the residents, and it was just fab. They did so well. I haven't done a lift yet. I've not got to that standard of going up to the top floor on a lift, but why not? It's a new challenge.
Pauline, you want to ask a question, Pauline? Hang on.
Hi, Lynne. I just wondered, how do you choose their names?
So we like to keep everything very connected to the area that we live in, Pauline. So with the exception of Dottie, who has got dots all over her. So she, we've got Thowley, which his full name is Bierhope Thowliston. That's right. That's real. And Thowliston is the hill fort that looks over us. So we keep names very much connected to the area that we're in. A lot of them, most of the alpacas that we've got have been bought in and come with names.
Okay. Yeah.
And we tend to stick to them. We've changed Sam. He had a different name and we weren't too keen on it, so Sam was part of his name and we just shortened it.
Great.
And I think they do know their name. That's another thing. It's not as obvious as a horse or a dog, but I think they do know their name. And little subtle signs there.
Any more questions?
I've got one, Pauline.
Kath, hello, Kath.
Hi, Lynne. I have some of Joyce's alpaca fleece, and I'd like to know I need to clean it. Can I just use a gentle, just water, or do I need anything else?
Kath, there's an echo on. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Right. Okay. So I don't. What are you going to do with your fleece? Are you going to spin it?
I do needle felting.
Right. Really easy. It's really easy. Then I can do this. I'm allowed to do this with the fleece as well. So get a bucket of clean water, hand hot, hotter than a baby's bath. You know, the old fashioned way we used to dip our elbows in for the baby's bath. Hotter than that. and you can use either a wool liquid wash, or you can use like liquid Persil, a non-bio ordinary detergent, or you can use good old fairy liquid. Plunge your fleece in its worth. Before you do it, make sure that you pick through it and do small quantities, so take out all the debris and take out any second cuts, and then plunge it into a bucket. If you get an onion sack, or sometimes you can use them. You might have to do it a couple of times until it comes out clean-ish, and then your final wash should just be in clear water, and a little top tip for needle felt, and pop a tiny drop of Lenore or Comfort in once you've got it clean, and it just helps you for needle felting.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Right. And to dry it, just try not to agitate it too much. So you really want a nice sunny day, and put it out on a wall, on a towel, and let it dry flat.
Just naturally.
Once it's stopped dripping, you can put it into an airing cupboard or a warm cupboard once all the water stopped coming out of it.
Thanks very much.
And I should mention that Kath's going to lead an introduction to needle felting class on our Zoom sessions, so we look forward to seeing that, Kath.
I would like to watch that. I saw that coming up.
I
think we need to talk that. I need to send an email after this, I think.
Yes. And Pauline, who just spoke, is doing the Project Linus stitch along all month. So if anyone wants to get involved with that, then that's on Tuesday next week, isn't it, Pauline? Tuesday at 2? Yeah, that's right. So lots of things to get involved in, and there's someone else on here today that's going to drop. Is Arlene? Where's Arlene? I'm just going to do a quick commercial, and go to Arlene. And Arlene is running our Get Active with Arlene. I can't see her though. She's so active. She's run away. Oh, there she is. Yeah, I can see you. Hello, Arlene. Hello. So. Arlene's going to do Active with Arlene session tomorrow at 2. So just a gentle workout, isn't it? But it's not really a workout. Yeah.
It's a bit of fun.
Yeah, it's get you moving. So there's lots of things coming up. Thanks, Arlene. Thank you, Lynne. Now, does anyone have any final question? And then I think what we'll do, Lynne, is we'll ask you to just give everyone the website address, so that if anybody wants to have a look at it and a look at your yarn, then they can get that or look at it.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I can do this while I'm on here. Or look, apparently I can. I'll pop into the chat.
Might be good to just say it out loud as well, because if people have a pen and a piece of paper, then they can write it down.
www.bierhope.co.uk. BEIR and then hope, Bierhope, BEIR and hope.co.uk. That's our website address for all sorts of things. We're fully bookable online as well, to book visits, and we have a selection of different things on the website. Can I also just one last time plug Anne's had to leave.
Yes.
Anne's lockdown in Lamb, and this is probably backwards as well because I'm on Zoom.
We can see it actually.
So we sell these on our website as well, and all the money goes to the charities. I'm sure you all know, and Anne's presentation before Christmas was fab about the lockdown in Lamb. We're delighted at Bierhope to be able to stock this cookery book, and it's fantastic. There's some great recipes in it, and I think 15s is the next thing we're going to be trying out of it too. So,
yeah. No, and actually, a thing that I didn't know, I hadn't put 2 and 2 together until this evening, was that Anne did that presentation from your llama barn, didn't she?
Yeah, she did. She was in the alpaca barn.
Sorry, not llamas, but alpacas. Yeah.
All by the night that Anne did hers, so I've been the wimp and come into the house. Anne was in our trekker's barn, which is fitted out with Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Like the alpacas, like Netflix now.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful.
I had said to Pauline, everybody, that I would maybe try and do the presentation from the barn, but it's absolutely freezing. I'm missing my right hand men. I really miss when I don't have them next to us. I sort of flout.
Yeah. Well, if there's no more questions, I might ask everyone to just give Lynne a round of applause and thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. We wish you all success. We look forward to hearing more about them. And do you adopt an alpaca? Do you do anything like that?
Yeah, you can adopt an alpaca, and it includes in the adoption package. It includes a visit to us. This is not quite the same because it does say "Be My Valentine." I got that made from husband. But the sign itself, you get one of these that doesn't say "Be My Valentine." It just says alpacas on it. You get a canvas print of your alpaca. You get a visit for 2 people in the adoption. Yeah, all the details. You get fun fact, and then I send you newsletters now and again too.
Yeah. Very good. And how do they hold the pen?
They're very good on.
They're very good, yeah. Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, everyone, and thank you very much, Lynne. It's had a lovely time. So, well done. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.